everyone. The coveted post-lunch lull is setting in. I can feel it already, so we're here to take about 15 minutes and talk about Web3 sports, fan engagement, and what we feel as brand leaders in multiple sectors within sports can be a very vital part of anybody's experience in Web3. We really want to try and share examples of what we've gone through. And in order to really kick this off, I wanted to make sure we introduced our panelists, starting with Choi with the Atlanta Hawks, Hunter Abramson with Relic Ticketing, and I am Jasmine Maietta, founder of Round 21. Based on the time, we're going to dive right in and start with a few questions to orient you guys on who we are. Jen, you're with the Atlanta Hawks, obviously an established property within sports and in the NBA. Share a little bit about your journey to the Hawks, as well as how the Hawks adopted Web3 in the first place.
Sure, thanks so much for the intro, Jasmine. Good to see everyone. So before joining the Atlanta Hawks, I spent most of my career in consulting and tech, zero sports experience before joining the Hawks in 2019 to start their first innovation lab, which is a dual incubator / accelerator where we test new ideas and concepts that we think are the future of the business, Web3 included. Through kind of the work we did in Innovation Lab, I transitioned to my current role, which is really around how do we grow our franchise value? How do we take us to the next $1 billion? In terms of Web3, like many teams, we dipped our toe in with NFTs, right? And if you think about, NFTs in sports, there's a long tradition of collecting and trading, authentic, limited edition memorabilia. And so we saw this as a modern iteration of that, and really a way for us to engage with our fans in a novel way in a space that's rapidly growing. Again, we look at Web3 and NFT as an engagement lever. It's a tool for us. For our fans, it's an opportunity to own a piece of Hawks history that will unlock exclusive benefits and experiences for them. One thing to note is, when we went on this journey, our audience, 40% of them said that they had never even heard of blockchain. So our goal was not revenue, it was really to embark on a journey with our fans and introduce them to this world of Web3 that, they are not crypto natives like the folks in this room. So that was really our primary goal, is to just introduce this concept of Web3 to them. And I think, what we really learned during that, time is a ton about our audience. What do they like? Who are they? We had no idea how they would perform at all. And so, for us, it was really about understanding our audience and also understanding what do we need to know and do in order to support Web3 projects in the future? Like, what is the infrastructure that we need to build? So, again, really for us, it was learning and, again, an opportunity for our fans to really engage with the team and build brand loyalty in a completely new way.
Awesome. So we're going to dive a little more into that here in a second. But Hunter Abramson, Relic Ticketing. Ticketing is obviously a part of fan culture, not just sports culture. When you think about your journey to starting with what Relic Ticketing is doing today and how ticketing is an important part of the sports experience, share a little bit about who you are as well as how you've approached the space and why you're different.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Jasmine. I grew up really in the sports entertainment space since I was extremely young. I've touched everything from sponsorship to finance to operations, and I don't think I have to sit up here and explain to everyone that the ticketing industry might be a little broken right now. Thanks, Taylor Swift, for that. So essentially, when we started really understanding blockchain and what it looked like and how it can be utilized, and non-fungible tokens and the different aspects it could touch from the consumer experience, I call really what we're doing, we mask the Web3 experience from A to Y, where we really focus on everything from deleting and eliminating fraud to mitigating scalping and utilizing smart contracts, being able to put rules in the tickets to be able to say if you buy a ticket for $100, you can't sell it for more than 10 or 20% of what you purchased it for, and being able to close that gap, not necessarily completely eliminate it, so there is still profit margin for people, but essentially not taking away 1,200% margins from a primary to a secondary sale. And then also, when I say A to Y, we really cover the Web3 experience because we don't want to change the consumer experience as it sits today right now when it comes to purchasing a ticket, but utilize it. So we call ourselves a Web2 ticketing company, with Web3 technology to make the experience just that much better while onboarding as many people as possible. I think that's one of our biggest powers in the industry right now is, the first music festival we ever did was 10,000 tickets out in Denver. Went completely smoothly. None of them knew anything about Web3 technology and how to utilize it, yet we were able to deliver NFT tickets into every single person's hands to then, once the Z hits, as I call it, and they scan and they get an NFT ticket as a collectible or an engagement source, and where we drive utility post-event in perpetuity, I always say that we're not just a ticketing company, we are also an education company, because at that point we have to start educating the consumers on why do you want an NFT ticket in your wallet after the experience you just had, and how can we create an emotional attachment so that experience lives on to the next time you re-engage with that IP or that experience in the next year at a music festival or at a sporting event, and throughout a season for a sports team, and what does that look like? What new value and utility can you add to a loyal fan through a ticket that can live in perpetuity?
Awesome. And a little introduction about me. In round 21, I spent my entire career in sports, both as an athlete as well as a coach, and then transcended into the marketing side of sports for brands like Reebok and Under Armour and Peloton. But when I was going through that experience as a marketer, I recognized a very important generational change, and as an athlete, a very big generational change, which is that most fans today care equally, if not more, about the name on the back of the jersey than the name on the front, and that they want to go way beyond the sneaker as how they engage with their favorite players. And so round 21 bridges art and sport, art as a vehicle for self-expression, sport as the canvas, to bring playable, collectible, and wearable digital and physical goods to fans everywhere. So the reason we're here on this panel is because what we do, similarly to Jen and Hunter, is we try to bridge fan engagement well beyond the game. So Jen, when you talked about adding franchise value and how you were challenged with leveraging Web3 and starting with NFTs to build franchise value, how did you think about how to do that pre, during, and post-game, beyond just what the ticket sale has been from a revenue-generating activity?
Right, when we launched NFTs, we were extremely intentional about our approach, because again, we're starting from a blank canvas. We as the Atlanta Hawks obviously are not, a Web3 first company. So for us, we made sure that we launched in really as a test, as an experience. Like, revenue was not a goal for us. Really, we wanted to see what resonates with fans, what types of NFTs and utility do they like. And so when we put together our strategy, we were very deliberate about how we were going to go to market with that. Because again, our audience does not know a thing about blockchain. And frankly, sports fans are skeptical about NFTs, if not downright hostile about them. So for us, it was really intentional on education and obscuring the complexity, the jargon, and the terminology right around Web3 and NFTs. And I think the biggest impact we might have had is helping kind of change the perception and sentiment around these types of assets, right? When we saw how fans made the connection between, oh, now I'm owning a piece of Hawks history, and what does that get me, right? Whether that was being able to meet the team, going to our practice facility to shoot hoops, having their own locker in our locker room, like truly, ultra exclusive benefits that are only available to those folks that, hold those NFTs. I think that's where we start to see a lot of value, right? Is kind of changing people's attitudes around these types of assets.
Awesome. And then Hunter, you talked about Z being really the beginning of the next engagement. How do you think about when a ticket is sold and potentially resold, how that token then lives on as both memorabilia, as also a memory, a representation of being somewhere, and how it's a part of what eventually becomes a greater ecosystem?
Yeah, and I'll speak to a couple of different instances. One of the music festivals we did, it was just so interesting to see you start adding value with meet and greets, as Jen said, VIP experiences, merchandise drops, stuff like that. You start seeing a new flood of people coming in saying, hey, teach me how to download a wallet, teach me how to create a digital identity, teach me how to utilize this in the real world now that my experience is dead and this now lives on, and I can utilize it in a lot of different ways. We talked about back there, the NFL Hall of Fame Village that we are currently, working with on how do you take a ticket from like an induction ceremony and utilize it in the entire village through hospitality, through food and beverage, through activities and experiences that are in real life that you can have a ticket live on while creating new revenue streams for the enterprise and adding value to the consumer. It is a billion rabbit holes to go down that we have all been exploring. I know all three of us on this stage that it honestly is exhausting because there's so much opportunity for both sides of that ticket and what does it look like. And that is what we've been spending our time with is not only, are we dealing, in live entertainment and going into sports and heading into venues here in the next couple of weeks, but also, big brands. What does it look like as they're utilizing us to migrate their consumers from Web 2 to Web 3 and then deliver the Web 3 aspect and utility that they've been wanting to utilize for a long time?
Awesome. And so we don't know anything about you guys in the audience, but to build off of the idea of a billion rabbit holes or experimentation, I'd love to offer one story from Round 21's experience, which is if any of you guys are here trying to get inspiration about how you leverage Web3 or where you take what you've done into the future, we always built from a foundation of the intersection of art and sport. And in today's world where Web3 is, that is an infinite playground of where we could take what we do. And so rather than establishing one strategy, which could keep us potentially blind to opportunities, we built a strategy around experimentation, and we did it in partnership with. So all of you are sitting next to people who are in the space, obviously, and in my experience, particularly in 2021, just simply asking, what are you working on, could lead to opportunities to collaborate or to find ways to intersect into what other people are doing, which if you're at the incubation stage of how you're gonna leverage Web3, can be a very valuable role to play in someone else's experience or your own, so that you're sharing in the learnings and able to leverage after you've experimented and seen some success. So with the less than 5 minutes we have left, there are a few other topics we wanted to dive into. So Jen, from one perspective, you're building an innovation brain and epicenter at the established Atlanta Hawks organization, but obviously an established company has a lot of processes in place, and there can be a lot of starts and stops with how you get something off the ground. How did you approach socializing and getting alignment internally to then build what was the first experiment that now is becoming a real vein in the Atlanta Hawks business strategy?
Well, when we started, obviously we were in kind of an incredible bull run. We were seeing teams across every single league starting to dip their toes in. And again, we really just viewed this as a completely new product we can offer, a completely new way to build community around, our brand, develop loyalty. And what we saw was all the possibilities that could come, right? So we were starting with NFT, but as Hunter mentioned, with NFT ticketing, right, this could be a chance to really reimagine a whole new loyalty system beyond season membership. So we were looking at things around, if you could collect, ticket stubs, that could be your, hype video or your highlight reel. And if you collect enough of them, that unlocks another benefit. And so loyalty systems in sports is a huge enigma, right? And no one has been able to crack it. And I think now with the power of the blockchain being kind of the source and the ledger and the, source of truth, for us, like convincing our leadership was not just the immediate benefits, but the possibility beyond that, right? And if everyone is getting in the space, we need to be prepared. We need to future-proof ourselves so that wherever we go in Web3, we have the infrastructure and tools to develop it. So it was really focusing on the potential and the possibility and saying, again, we're taking a very measured, experimental approach to learn to then inform kind of our longer-term strategy. So again, it's new ways to engage with our fans, an ability to offer new products, and starting kind of the seed of what this could look like longer term, which would be a loyalty model beyond the season ticket membership.
Awesome. And then Hunter, back in the green room, we were talking about, you've done stuff with the NFL Hall of Fame. You obviously are having active conversations with people across teams, leagues, and players. Is there any alpha you can share that Relic ticketing is bringing in 2023? Is there any leading storyline you can share with the audience?
Yes, outside of our big upgrade that we're going to have, that we are stepping into the venue game with individual seats and season tickets, that we're going to be moving into a lot of the larger venue spaces. I think my favorite thing today is my dear friend Sandy Carter and I are announcing a huge, global partnership with Unstoppable Domains and Relic Tickets, where we're integrating with Unstoppable Domains to be able to claim your NFT tickets through your domain and integrate into our platform. But at the same time, you are going to be able to display your NFT tickets for the events and experiences you've been to on Unstoppable Domains profile, which I think is going to be pretty awesome to be able to show people and be able to consolidate in your digital identity. Now people can see all the experiences that you have been through and collected, and to be able to create social aspects around that is going to be very cool with Unstoppable Domains on all of our global events that we're doing. That's
awesome. Actually, my first anything was on Unstoppable Domains, and Sandy and her team are incredible, round21.crypto. That's awesome to hear, and I know that from an onboarding perspective, being able to allow people to understand how they can own their own identity online and on-chain is really important. And then from a Round21 perspective, I guess what I would share is what we've been able to create across wearables, playables, and collectibles with experiences is more in line with what Jen was talking about, which is a loyalty system. And I think as brands in particular build value around a part of culture, leveraging NFTs and Web3 to be the digital reflection as well as the access to deeper engagement is a very viable path, particularly in a market that has a lot of volatility. So as we go through and we think about our products and experiences, we're layering in a market strategy, starting with LA and New York, to be able to really bring and bridge cultural experiences, product, and fandom in a way that has an epicenter around a geographic location. That's our little edit for 2023, and we're really excited about what it's gonna bring. That is all the time we have. We've really enjoyed being able to spend time with you guys and enjoy the rest of this incredible Web3 experience, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.